Welcome to this podcast. David here from the ConsciousCreationAcademy.com, and today we're talking about the question I get asked often, having taught Reiki to 5,000 people. Had opened the second Reiki school in the UK back in 1996, I think it was 1997, that kind of time. How does Reiki work? What are the Reiki symbols? Do you need Reiki symbols? Do they have their own power and energy and all that kind of stuff? So, of course, on this podcast, what we're really interested in is as close as the truth as we can get it. So, if you've listened to anything that I've done, what I'm really interested in is not holding back in terms of helping you slay these kind of sacred spiritual cows about whether chakras exist or the Reiki symbols, whatever it is. And so we're going to take a really good look at that today. So as I mentioned, I taught Reiki to 5,000 people. I was actually healing for a few years before that. I went around my friend's house and there was a healer there. Of course, I had my first out-of-body experience when I was 3. That continued all through my childhood, and seeing and feeling spirit and all that kind of stuff. And so I was very used to the idea that reality didn't end at my fingertips, if you like. But actually, I really hadn't bumped into healing. There was a healer I was invited to go to dinner with my friend Adrian. She then invited me, and I was pretty skeptical, if I'm honest. I had a couple of beers. Just thought, no, I'm just going to go along, have a couple of beers, and this isn't going to work. So, but she invited me very wisely, very kindly and gently to put my hands on Adrian's back. Adrian was in the army, he had a very bad back because he's carrying all that kind of army backpacks about for so many years. And as soon as I put my hand on his back, then all this energy arrived in the room. It was a bit like being plugged into the electrics out the wall. He felt it, I felt it, everyone in the room felt it. There was 4 or 5 of us in the room. My inner senses or my psychic senses kind of intensified, and I just felt all this energy, and I felt stuck to his back. I wasn't used to the energy flow at that point, and my hands felt stuck, and I was a bit nerve-wracked, to be honest. My hands then kind of came off. It's a bit like suction. I felt that whatever had ended after a couple of minutes, and I was just kind of breathing quite heavily, and his bad back went. And it was astonishing, to be honest. It was amazing. And I remember thinking, having then talked to the healer and this type of thing, I mean, everyone was astonished. We then did a bit more healing on another couple of people who I didn't know in the room, and their ailments got better as well. And it was kind of like, okay, this is very, very interesting. And I then thought on the way home, I was talking to my partner at the time. I said, well, if we can do bad backs and sore knees so easily, what about cancer? Can that be done? And so, as usual, in my usual fashion of exploration, I kind of, when I had my healing center for 10 years and I was a healer full time, then I really went for the most drastic, as well as the easy stuff, those drastic of ailments, and it worked every time. Now, I did this for about 3 years. Then I opened up the centre and the spiritual centre. And what I've realised was that people were interested in learning what I knew. And I had no formal training. This thing just arrived. And Reiki was really just starting out. So I kind of heard about that. I went and learnt Reiki as a way to add a formula that I could then share with other people. Obviously, myself knowing and realising that nobody needs a tuning. Nobody needs any of this kind of stuff, because that's what happened to me. I'm no more special than anybody else. So I began the Reiki school in 1996, I think, something along those kind of lines. And for my own form of Reiki, based a lot actually on the traditional Reiki with the Mikao Usui introduced, but I was very quick to help people understand that actually the Reiki symbols are completely unnecessary. Now, they're unnecessary in the broadest sense, because we all have the power to do and the ability to send healing energy and to heal other people. But what they are needed for is if somebody doesn't quite believe that they're able to do it, then they give them tools, if you like. And I think that's the way to think about the Reiki symbols, which is that they're really they symbolize ideas. You can see them on Buddhist temple walls all over the place. There's nothing hidden about them. A side note, when I actually started doing Reiki all those many, many years ago, you weren't allowed to see the Reiki symbols. And actually, I went and bought a book at a healing center, and they gave it to me in a black paper bag from under the counter, and because they were told that something really bad would happen to me if I saw the Reiki symbols written down. That shows you how kind of crazy and how uneducated people were, and to be honest still are often about these types of things. So I began to explore and experiment and teach Reiki without Reiki symbols. Remember, Reiki is just a word for universal energy, so it's all the same stuff. Spiritual healing, Reiki healing, shamanic healing, pranic, all the same stuff. And the more you explore it, the more you'll realize that is the case. So as I began to explore, we began to do healing without attunements. Attunement comes from the word atonement, at one-ment. And of course, we're already at one with ourselves and reality, the universe, whatever, spirit, whatever you think it is. We don't actually by nature need these. But again, some people need the ritual. And I think that's the best way to think about Reiki, which is Reiki is a stepping stone to allow people who haven't had kind of the experience, the self-belief, or maybe the teacher who can't quite get across these ideas in a way to help people kind of empower themselves enough to relax and allow their inner senses to kind of feel and sense this energy. It gives them a tool and a structure, and as you go through Reiki, then those tools are needed for some people. So as I talked about in the book, Secret Truth About Reiki, do we need attunements to do Reiki? Absolutely not. Do we need Reiki symbols? Do they have any energy or power? Absolutely not. However, they can be used as stepping stones, but I would always tell somebody when I was teaching Reiki, look, these are stepping stones. This is not something that you have to continue to do because, to get more power in capital letters, because that's a nonsense. Essentially, all you're doing is allowing yourself, it's a focus of attention. You're focusing your energy like a magnifying glass through this idea of this thing called a symbol, and therefore it's kind of intensifying not the symbol but your focus. Like if we put a magnifying glass in the sunshine, it doesn't change anything about it. It's still energy, sunshine, or sunshine energy. It just focuses the intention, and that's what a symbol or a shape does. And the most powerful symbols quite literally are the ones that you can make up yourself. So if you are thinking about Reiki, taking Reiki or whatever, the symbol that you can make up yourself that resonates and connects with you is actually the most powerful symbol. But ultimately, you absolutely do not need any symbols in order to do Reiki, in order to use Reiki, because Reiki is just another term for universal energy. And in fact, I think its Achilles heel is that it really does rely on these things, but also it's one of the good things about it is that it's so simple. I think that the issue I have and had with Reiki teachers is that essentially they just don't know what they're doing, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. They haven't been around it long enough. They haven't challenged it. Maybe they haven't done an attunement because the Reiki symbols are used in Reiki attunements in that ceremony, but actually it works even if you don't use the symbols. It's all about intention, because, as you're learning on this podcast, it's a state of consciousness here. It's not a physical environment. And so like all rituals, shamanic rituals, Reiki rituals, no matter what ritual it is, all they do is focus the intention of the individual into a particular outcome, and then that outcome happens. So it's law of attraction 101, but in the ability to do healing. Same with acupuncture, which we'll go into another idea when, maybe, as astonishing as it may sound to some people, the idea that chakras actually don't exist, and which I would guarantee they don't, 100%. And because they're another ritual, they're another symbol, if you like, and the more we believe in them, the more we have to use them. And so that's what we're kind of exploring here, is all these kind of ideas that we have. So fundamentally, do you need Reiki symbols? Do Reiki symbols give you power? The answer is absolutely not. What they do is help you focus your attention. And when I was first teaching Reiki, like I say, this feels like a lifetime ago, then new Reiki systems used to come out, and they used to have more and more symbols. So the idea was that, if you've got 3 symbols in your Reiki attunement, you're at level whatever, but there's another 20 levels up, and if you have 1,000 symbols, and it's a bit like saying, if you have more watches on your arm that you've got more time. It's an illusion. It's absolutely not true, but it plays to our ego, okay, and it plays to that type of thing. So overall, I would say that everybody should learn Reiki, should be taught in schools. The ability to experience energy and do healing should be taught in schools. What we should be doing, though, is stripping away the rituals and help people understand exactly how it works, why it works, and stop giving people crutches that they then struggle to let go of, and kind of think, I need more, I need more symbols, I need more attunements. It did get to the stage, and again, because Reiki was so accessible so many years ago, so new, where people would, Reiki masters, Reiki teachers, would be charging people quite a lot of money just to reattune them. And of course, that is pure ego. And a lack of understanding. It's just nonsense. However, because I think people at the time, and people still now, who don't challenge these ideas, and if anything comes from the podcast generally that you're listening to here, is don't accept my word for it. Go and learn Reiki, go and teach Reiki, and go and try it out, and you'll find exactly the same thing. Have the I suppose the curiosity and the bravery to challenge all of the ideas that you see, and what you'll realize is that they are just ideas, they're just beliefs, and often, and I would say without a shadow of a doubt, if one thinks that one has to have symbols and attunements to do healing, or absent healing, or whatever it would be, makes no difference in that arena. That's ultimately disempowering, and therefore, which is why I strongly advise you to think about, there's not one Reiki system has more powerful symbols or more symbol, whatever. That's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. You have the power and ability now to do healing. And after a few years of teaching Reiki, I then started to teach people healing without any of that structure. And actually, you know what? I still taught Reiki because some people wanted it, some people wanted to teach, and it was a great format for that. But fundamentally, I think it was much more empowering for me and for them to help them understand that actually that they don't need any of this stuff. They were born with this ability, it's their birthright, and therefore exploring it is the way forward, even if there are other systems like Reiki and that type of thing. It's all the same stuff. It's just that people want to make it difficult. Teachers want to be able to teach and charge money, and it's in their interest, consciously or subconsciously, to make it complicated and that ritualistic and that type of thing, and that's what people pay for. So there you go. So wherever you hear this, please do comment, probably on YouTube or Facebook or on the podcast. Welcome to justify what I'm saying and take the conversation a bit further. That's what it's all about. You can go to thedreamwecallearth.com, and I will put a link below in the description, thedreamwecallearth.com. Download my book. It's a kind of spiritual allegory, a spiritual story based on my understandings about the nature of reality. And then there are 7 audios that will be delivered into your email as a lesson, lessons to you. They're very interesting. And then if that interests you, look out for some more training coming your way. And I hope you enjoyed that podcast. All right, that's it. Have a great day. I hope that's useful for you, and speak to you soon. Take care.